So it's T-minus 10 days until the big day. And if you're like me, you tell yourself that I'm gonna start early this year and I'm gonna get all my stuff done and packed up, and well, life kind of gets in the way. So if you're joining me today, you're probably looking for a last minute box to put your gift in. And that's what we're gonna put together, our Swirly tree gift box. Very simple little project. It's gonna go together real quick, just what you need for this time of year. Okay, and we're gonna begin by putting together the top, the lid. Okay, so I've kind of just taken everything and pre-folded, just so you don't have to sit here and watch me fold things. What you're gonna wanna do is find, we have actually added some little markers on here. There's a T1, T3, T2, two little dashes. These are the three sides to the lid. And for the lid, we're gonna include some nice little panels, which we're going to glue down just like this. Okay, so we're gonna start off by doing that. We're gonna glue our panels onto our three sides of our lid. So just get that nice and flat on your table and just start with your glue. And of course my glue. Okay, so here we go. Again, I'm gonna try to get this done nice and quick. Not a lot of pieces. It's a pretty good sized box. Check the dimensions on the website just to make sure that whatever you're putting in it is going to fit. And nothing quite like a DIY little handmade gift box for that special gift. I know, sometimes we get a little crazy with the number of gifts that we give, and it's not realistic to make boxes for everything, but occasionally, depending on the circumstance, there are some special occasions that call for something nice and special and pretty. Okay, so we'll get the next one on here and just try to work some of that glue out to the edges so that that doesn't come peeling off. It's kind of a large area to cover, so you gotta work quick before it starts to dry. It's been very dry, obviously, because it's winter here in Chicago. Oh, and by the way, when you're putting this down, make sure that you have a nice even border going all the way around. Just try to keep that border nice and consistent. Okay, there we go. Just like that. And our last one here. So we just thought that it'd be a great idea, if we're gonna do one more little Christmas bundle, to make it some quick little boxes that you can put together if you're in a bind. I know especially this time of year, it is not fun battling the crowds. And if you just need a little box, and if you're battling through snow and all that good stuff, that is not fun at all. So you can stay at home and make yourself a box. Okay, so we've got the three panels on. Now, what you want to do is you're gonna have three triangles that look like this. Okay, there are some markers on here. There's one with a B, that is the liner for the bottom, and then there is one with a tiny little mark on it. It's just one little mark. That is the actual bottom for the bottom. And then there's one without any marks on it. That is the top, okay? Now, before we get to the top, this piece is gonna go onto the actual lid, like so, okay? And then we're gonna take this, glue it to this, flat, and then gonna pop dot this onto the green piece. Okay, so let's get this piece on, just to kind of get it ready. And what I'd probably suggest doing with this is, since there's so much area on this piece, is maybe just kind of go like halfway. Let's glue it down halfway, and then it's flimsy enough to where we can lift it up and glue the rest of it down. You don't need to get glue on every single little inch of this. I would go maybe a third of the way, actually. So probably about there. That's almost halfway, actually, but that's okay. Let's just pop that on. So there's no glue on the bottom, so you can kind of use the bottom to guide it into place, and then go ahead and press it down. Make sure you've got it nice and lined up. Okay, so that's going to sit nice. And then, as you can see here, it's kind of still flimsy enough to where we can peel it back and apply glue to the rest of it. It's already pretty much anchored where it needs to go, so we can then just simply drop the back of it down and get it into place. I would definitely work the perimeter with your glue. I'd do that first. Maybe just little beads of glue here. And then just hit the centers, especially these little details here that are kind of not connected to anything, these little swirlies. And then just drop that down onto the rest of this piece. And if you do have any little areas that you may have missed, which I did, just grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue right at the very tip of it, and just pop it right underneath those little areas where you maybe didn't get enough glue, and just press that down into place. I got a little bit too much glue there. Get rid of that. And here's another little area where I didn't get enough love. It's not really realistic to get this all down in one fell swoop. A lot of area to cover, a lot of little details, so you can just go in and paint a little bit of glue into the areas that need it, and it'll look nice and neat and complete, just like that. And then just press that down. And I've got one more little area here that just needs a tiny bit of glue. Lift it up, just paint a little glue on there, and bam. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's pretty. We're gonna leave that off to the side for now. And actually, I'm gonna put it under my mat so it sets nice and flat. And we can go ahead and start putting the lid together. Okay, so you'll notice that there are some tabs here. And just do it in order. Okay, so we've got 1, and we're gonna connect that to 2. And this is 2, it says T2. And then we'll connect that to 3. And then we'll connect it all together. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our glue onto this tab on piece number 1. And I'm gonna spread that glue out to the very edges of this tab. Okay, lay that down flat on my surface, grab my piece number 2, and just kind of line it up. You want to kind of make sure that it is lined up at the bottom, as well as this little score mark here, and that this piece is kind of butting up against the little score mark there. And then you can kind of fold it over onto itself. Check this line here, and then these tabs should be sitting pretty much right on top of each other. And that's a good indication that you've got it properly lined up. I'm adding a tiny little bit more pressure here to the very end where I added my glue. Okay, so piece 1 and 2 are connected. We'll grab piece number 3 and get that ready. And get our glue on the tab at the end of piece number 2. And let's spread that glue out to the edge, just like that. Lay that down flat, grab your piece number 3. You're gonna connect the side that is opposite of the side that has the tab. So this side has no tab. The other side here has the tab. So you don't wanna connect the 2 tabs together. You just wanna connect the side that doesn't have a tab to the tab on piece 2. And then you can fold it over onto itself, check your alignment, and press that down. Get that to hold nicely. Okay. And then go ahead and close it up, just join it all together, and we'll put glue on the final tab here on piece number 3. And I'm going to work that glue out to the edge, just like that. And I don't think we can do this flat. We're going to have to do this kind of in the air. So just get that nice and lined up with that tab, like so. And just hold that in place while it sets. You can kind of pinch it up at the top. It's going to fold this in a little bit, but that's okay. You can actually do it like this too. It's not going to harm the overall design in any way. And it'll ensure that that seam is nice and crisp too. So don't be afraid to fold it like that. Okay, there we go. We'll give that a second more before we let it go. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we've got our lid for the most part, and we need to put our top on. We're going to begin by anchoring just one side to the bottom. We'll do the shortest side. The rest of it will then easily fall into place. Okay, now you want to go kind of thin with the glue on this here, and then I'm going to do a nice thicker line right towards the bottom where I'll paint that glue out to the edge. Okay, and then just take the bottom of this and try to get it as centered as you can right onto that tab, like that, and then press that down. Okay, and then if you want to, you can actually let this fall down and press from the inside to really get that piece to nicely sit in place and push that glue into the fibers of the paper and help it set a little bit quicker. Okay, so there we go. We should have a nice clean seam there, and we do. If there are any little areas that look like they need maybe just another minute to set, just put your finger down, add a little bit of pressure, and just hold it in place until you get the desired results. Okay. There we go. All right, so now all that's left to do is get our glue on the remaining tabs here. Okay, so I'm going to have to go a little bit thick here. I've got a lot of surface area to cover. A nice thicker line towards the bottom, which I'm going to kind of spread out to the very edges. And if you don't get the desired result the first time, don't worry about it. We can always use that little method where you kind of paint that glue in between the two areas, and we'll get it to sit nice and clean. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and flip this down. It should just kind of fall into place, just like that. And then run your finger along the perimeter here on both sides, and just continue to kind of do that so that we can apply that downward pressure onto these areas. And then you can actually flip this upside down and push from the inside as well. If you want, just to add a little bit more force right into the little crack there where the tabs meet the pieces that we just glued down, you can use a dowel because my finger's not that straight. Okay. And let's take a look and see there. I've still got a few little areas that are kind of sticking up. So if you have something like that, just grab your scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on there, and just pop it right in between those two layers. Paint some glue on there, and then just press and hold that down until it's nice and flush. Okay? And that's going to happen. Got a lot of surface area to work with here. I would not put that much pressure on yourself to make sure that every single inch of this is glued down perfectly. It's not realistic. And then we can just kind of clean it up like this. Okay, this side, I've got a tiny little area here that needs a little bit of glue. And when you're doing this with the scrap piece of paper, don't put too much glue on there. Just a nice thin amount. And then just kind of pop it in there, and then just press down in that little area that needs that little TLC. Okay, all right, so our lid, well, the main structure of it is pretty much done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this green piece, we're gonna glue this right to the center here. We wanna make sure that we keep a nice even red border all the way around. Okay, so go ahead and get your glue on this patterned piece and work that glue out to the edges here and there. You don't need to cover every inch of the edge, but the more the better. And then a little bit in the center just to keep that from moving around. Okay, and again, focus on trying to make sure that you get this nice and centered with a nice even border all the way around. And that is pretty close there. There we go. And just work your fingers around the perimeter. Make sure everything's sitting nice and flat. Just like that. And again, if you've got any little areas that are kind of poking up, you can certainly clean it up. Okay, I'm just going to push down from the inside. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little foam squares here and grab my little Christmas tree pattern, and that is going to go. We actually have a little marker, two little markers down here where these little nubs are going to go. Okay, so let's get our foam squares on the back of this guy. I'm going to do one there. Just kind of try to spread them out as evenly as you can. And I would try to not put them too close to the edge where you'll see them. Okay, put one there, and then we'll put one here. I'm gonna flip it over and kind of just do a little press test and see where I've got too much give. Okay, it's kind of giving out too much there, so I'm gonna add one there. And then let's see here, I think maybe we've got a little bit too much give here, so I'm just gonna add two more here, just to kind of keep it nice and strong. Okay, all right, so we'll flip her over, and I'm gonna grab my X-Acto, peel off the backing, and get this piece into place. And then we've got a nice little bow that we're gonna put on top. And then just have to put together the bottom of our box. Obviously, we need a compartment to actually put something in. Can't just have a lid. I suppose you could, but it'd be kind of weird. And that will be it for this box. So again, it should go together pretty quick. And the pieces are fairly large. They're going to cut out really quick as well. So it should be, overall, it should be a very, very quick piece to put together. Okay, so again, use those little markers there at the bottom. Make sure that it's nice and centered. And press that down into place, just like that. And take a look at the final photo of this project. You'll see that I'm going to add some bling to this, throw some rhinestones on the actual tree just to jazz it up a little bit. Let's take a look at our little bow here. So what we're going to do is, first off, with this piece, well, obviously you can fold everything here at the score marks like that. Okay, and what we're going to do is and I'm not even going to train this. I'm just going to glue it. So go ahead and just fold it back, and you can see how there's a little scored area here. You don't actually have to score it. You can if it helps you with your glue placement, but you're going to put glue just within that area. Go very light with the glue, depending on, I guess, what type of paper you're using. I'm using a foil here. So I'm going to go easy with the glue here and just connect it to the little rectangular section in the center. You can see what that does. It kind of creates a nice round little loop for our bow on one side. Okay, and then just take your glue and place it within the little score area of the other loop. and fold it over onto the little centerpiece there, like that, and press and hold that in place until it sets. And there is our cute little bow. You could use a real bow if you want, but why not just use this one? Okay, give that a second, make sure it doesn't come pulling apart. There's a lot of tension here because this paper, we're kind of, you know, making it into this round loop. So there's a lot of tension here. It may want to naturally kind of pull apart. So wait until that glue is fully set before you move on, like that. Okay, and then we have a nice little red piece. It's going to go in the center. So take it and just lay it on there, nice and centered, with an even amount of paper on the top and the bottom, like this. And then all you need to do is just fold this back and push that and fold it back over. And then we're going to just glue it to itself on the back here. So one little dot of glue right there, and then just push that over onto that little dot of glue. Press and hold that in place, like so. And we've got a nice little accent there in the middle of our bow. There you go, like that. Okay, and all that's left to do then is to glue this onto the tail of our bow. And we can just, well, let's put our glue on the red piece. So just a few little dots of glue there. I'm going to kind of dab those a little bit, thin it out, and just press that right into place. Make sure it's nice and centered. Okay, there we go. And you can also use a foam square or a pop dot to apply that to your box, should you choose to do that. I think that this thing's dimensional enough that I think I'm just going to glue it flush to the top of the tree here, like this. Okay, and you kind of want, I'm going to bring this down just a tad so it's kind of hugging the tree, because I'm actually going to put a little rhinestone up here at the top. So let's get our glue on the back of this. I'm just going to do one little dot, and we'll put this right into place, right about here. Make sure it's nice and centered, and press that into place. There we go. Okay, so there's that. Okay, our lid is done. Now we can move on to the bottom, which we're pros at now. How's yours coming along? Is it coming out good? I hope so. And just like we did with the lid, we've got B1, B2, and B3. And we're just going to glue those together in order, just like we did. Okay, so I'm going to take and start by putting glue on the tab for B2. And this time we don't have any panels to put on because they're going to be hidden away once we slide it into place anyway, so no sense in adding paper to that. Okay, so just pop that down flush on your table, nice and flat, get it lined up, and just like that. And if you want, you can go ahead and fold it over onto itself. Check the alignment here. That looks good to me. Looks nice and flush and nice and straight all the way down. Okay, add a little bit more pressure there, right on that tab that we just glued. Okay, so B1, B2 are connected. Now I'm grabbing piece number B3 and getting my glue onto the tab here, a little bit out to the edge. And spreading that glue out. Working flat whenever possible. And just grab the other end, pop it right onto the top of that tab. You want to butt it up right up to those score lines, and then kind of fold it over onto itself again. This is the seam here that we just glued everything together at. Give that an extra press, make sure it's set. All right, and then we'll go back to piece number B1, and this is that tab. And we're going to put glue on, so that we can connect it all together and make it all one piece, one continuous piece. Okay, so grab that and just get it lined up. And remember how we did this last time too. You can take and once you get it in place, kind of pinch it. Give it a little nudge. There we go. There we go. So it seems kind of counterintuitive to kind of pinch it like this, but it's fine. And I'm just doing that so I can really squeeze these two pieces together, these two tabs, or the one tab and the one side, so that it holds nicely for me. Okay, there we go. All right, so we got our bottom, and just like we did with our top, now remember, we've got two pieces left, one that has a little mark and one that has a B. You'll notice the one that has the B on it, it's a little bit smaller. That's the liner. We're gonna put that inside later on. But for now, we need to get our glue on this tab. And I'm gonna work some extra glue out to the bottom. And of course, my glue bottle is deciding that it doesn't wanna work very well right now. There we go. Let's get that glue out to the bottom. And there we go. Just like we did with the lid, take that bottom piece, line it up as accurately as you can, and press that down into place, like so. And just hold that for a moment until that very edge is making a nice connection for you. And then you can flip this down and press from the inside. Okay. And I don't want to jinx it, but we're still under 30 minutes here with the assembly because I haven't had to rerun my tape. I'm sure that I will have to here in just a second. But anyway, we're going to close this up now. So go ahead and get your glue on the remaining tabs. And these tabs here, they overlap, but that's okay. And get that glue out to the edge. I'm going to paint that glue all the way out to the edges here. And again, if you need to kind of paint a little bit more glue out to the edges because it's not sitting completely flat, and that's totally fine. Again, there's a lot of surface area here. It's very unrealistic to get this all down in one shot. But now, go ahead and close this up. Try to get it lined up as accurately as you can. If you need to kind of nudge any of these walls in or out, you can do that. Okay, and you can flip it over and push down from the inside. Now I'm going to check my work here, and I've got a couple little areas that I'm going to clean up by just putting a little bit of glue onto a scrap piece of paper, just kind of putting it right between the two areas that need to communicate so that they can get along and be closer. Okay, so anyway, you get the idea. You go around and clean up any areas that need to be cleaned up. Then you can flip this over and add some glue along the tabs on the inside and maybe just a little bit in the center. And then we'll take this piece and pop it in there to clean, well, kind of tidy up the inside, hide the tabs, and kind of add a little bit of strength to our box. Okay, so, and now we'll take our lid, should fit on there perfectly. And it does. There's a little bit of air that needs to seep out of there, and our box is complete. Again, take a look at the final photo for this product as I'm going to add some rhinestones, probably to the corners here and a little bit on the tree. And that's it. So roughly about a 30-minute project, not bad at all. It will definitely, add a little bit of uniqueness and a little DIY to your holidays this year. So if you enjoyed the video, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. As you can see behind me, I've got my counter. Love walking into the studio and seeing that number go up. So take a moment, hit that subscribe button. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, we'd love to see it. And so would the 16,000, maybe 17,000 plus dreamers that inspire us. So head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, and we'll see you there. Anyway, hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I look forward to crafting with you next time.